some things that happen to a program than when you did not expect it. So for example, I have a little program here where I import my scanner, my class is test, my main method is here. I'll create a keyboard with new scanner system in. So basically I'm going to request input from the user and I'm going to say system.println, please enter a number. Then I'm going to create a string number, string num, which is going to be whatever the person inserted, right? And that's going to be read as a string because it's next line. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to try to turn that string into a number by using the integer.parseInt. I'm going to try to make this into an int and put it in there. And then I'm going to check if it's greater than 10, then I'll print greater than 10. If it's less or equal, I will print less or equal to 10. Okay? And this works. We can compile it. Of course, I've saved it. And if we run it, you'll see down here it says please enter numbers. So 45 greater than 10. And then it exits. I can run it again. Please enter number 8 less or equal to 10. Right? So it's working fine. Now if I run it again, you cannot control what I enter here. So I can put YouTube here. But that's not a number. And what happens is that an exception is generated right here where I try to parse an integer when that string is not an integer. And if we look at the output, the exception is a Java line number format exception. There's no way I can control this, okay? There's no way I can control this. So an exception is thrown. This is an exception is a class that happens when, you know, certain unexpected things happen in the program. To work around those, okay, what if I still want to say something nicer than exception, right? I want to do something based on the fact that this exception happened. I want to say to the user something like, next time please enter an integer. Right now I cannot compute whether it's greater or less than 10, or something to that effect. You can think of a bigger program and you don't want the program to break because somebody entered something wrong. You want to inform the user and have them enter the right thing. So the way you handle exceptions is first you identify where the exception might be happening. So for example, here's where the exceptions might happen. The rest is all safe, right? You can scan and you can enter whatever you want. There's never going to be a problem there. And then if you have an int, you can always compare it to 10 and print. So there's no problem there. The only problematic line is this one, the only problematic block of code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to surround this code with what's called a try and catch block. I'm going to surround this whole block with the try and catch. Okay, the whole block with the try and catch. Just so basically, if I couldn't create a number from this string, then I won't do any of this. So the code goes together. So I'm going to say try and then indent. The code that you want to test for, or the code that you want to watch for an exception, goes within a try block, and then catch, and then you name the exception that you want to catch. In this case is number format exception, and then let's call it E. You tell the exception that you want to catch, and then a variable name that you want to assign to it. And that's the catch block. So here's what do we do if there's an exception? Well, if there's an exception, I'm going to say system.out.println, please enter only integers. Okay, so please enter only integers. I have my try block here. So I'm watching for this. And I hope it doesn't break, but if it does break, I'm going to go in here. Okay, so let's compile this and run it. Oops. Number format exception goes with capital E, I'm sorry. Okay, so now compile. I should have copied it from the output. Anyways, it compiled and then I can run it. So please enter a number, 19. That's greater than 10. Let's run it again. Enter number 8. 8 is less or equal than 10. Let's run again. Enter a number, Yahoo, and then it'll say please enter only integers. Right? So the exception happened. It went to this block and then it outputted it. Now this variable e can help us debug what happened. So for example, I can say system.out.println e.getMessage. So I'm printing the message here. You should go and look at the methods of an exception, because there's a lot more than getMessage, and there are many very useful methods that, because of the coverage of exceptions, I'm not going to get into in this lesson. Let's run this. We know it works for integers, so let's just try to generate an exception. Woo! It says please enter only integers for input string woo. Okay, that's the message. So it's telling me that woo is faulty. And each exception will have a different kind of message. Okay. Lastly, if you want to print the exception, but you don't want to break the program, you can say e.print stack trace. And then we'll see here that, I'm going to print system.out.println done. This goes outside of my try and catch. This is my try and catch. Outside, I'll print done. So basically, I'll print done no matter what, right? At the end of everything. And then let's run it. Please enter a number, Raul. And then here's what happens. Please enter only integers for input string Raul. So please enter only integers comes from here. For input string Raul comes here, and then print stack trace basically prints whatever the system would have printed. This gives you an idea of better debugging information if you want it. And then after the try and catch block is done, we print the string done here. That is exceptions. There's one last thing that goes here, which is a finally block. The finally block gets executed no matter what. Okay, no matter what. So finally system.out.println wrapping up. What happens here, and why is the finally block always gets executed, is that if you try something and an exception happens, you go and you catch it. Okay. Once you catch it, say for example something here, you have some code in here, and that code throws an exception, or that code fails. Okay. You might do whatever it is that you want to do, but then the finally block will still be executed. So for example, if you're doing something very complicated and the exception threw it all off and you want to revert stuff, you want to revert all your stuff in the finally block. So you prevent everything, okay? So you can prevent all exceptions, and that finally will get executed. If in a function you return here or something, that finally will still be executed. So you can do whatever it is that you want to do, return from the function, but then after that return, or kind of before that return, the finally will get executed. Finally gets executed no matter what in a try and catch block. Okay?